Good evening, councillors, officers, any members of the public that may be joining us via the webcast and visiting member as well with us. I'd like to welcome you all to this meeting of Cobtree Manor Estate Charity Committee being held today, Wednesday, 27th of March 2024, here in the Town Hall at Maidstone. Very quickly, the usual housekeeping matters, no planned fire drills. If you hear such a thing, please consider it to be real and follow the instructions of the Democratic Services officers. Secondly, please make the usual courtesy of silencing telephones and other digital devices, which I have now just done. And again, to remind you that this evening is being recorded for playback on our YouTube channel and webcast live. May I inquire if anybody else plans to record? That's not to prevent anyone, just so that others in the room would be aware. No indications. I think I've covered all of the housekeeping. I'm going to get us underway. Apologies for absence. I think we're a full house this evening. No urgent items. Technicality as it may be, may I take a note of the visiting members with us?
Councillor Russell, just observing.
Thank you. Item 4, are there any disclosures by members or indeed by officers? No frantic gestures saying so, so none are recorded. Lobbying, agenda item 5, any lobbying to declare? No declarations of lobbying. Item 6, just to take a moment to consider whether anything needs to be taken in private this evening. We do indeed have some yellow pages attached to the agenda relating to the future of Elephant House. I am going to, and also relating to the Cobtree estate update as well, 2 sets of yellow pages. So what I suggest, members, is we'll consider if we need to go into part 2 as we approach those items with your agreement. Is that agreed? Very quickly, we have the minutes of the meeting held on the 24th of January 2024, circulated with the papers. Trust you've had a chance to glance at those. Are there any matters of accuracy that anybody would like to raise? Therefore, I can sign them as an accurate copy. Is that agreed? I thank you. We have no petitions at agenda item 8 this evening, nor do we have any questions from members of the public or other council members. That's items 9 and 10. With your agreement, colleagues, I'd like to move item 13 up now ahead of 11, and that's just so that we can take advantage of any wisdom or advice that we might need from Mr. Green. He unfortunately does have to attend another meeting. So on Elephant House, starting at page 16, we're also assisted by Mrs. Exon, who is online with us. Mrs. Exon, do you want to give us a few words of introduction, or Mr. Green? Right, over to you then.
Okay, thank you, members. I have to say I'm not at home. I'm at a different address, so my internet is a little bit not as strong as I would have liked it. So you have the report in front of you concerning the letting of the Elephant House. The Elephant House has been marketed on the open market. Traditionally, it is quite a simple building and has very few facilities in it, which obviously poses quite a hardship in getting people interested into wanting to take on such a building. Following the marketing of the building, we do have a tenant that is interested in taking the building, and a tenant that we believe is suitable, as in with regard to the type of business that they are offering, that it is complementary to the business, as it were, of Cobtree car park, Manor. Sorry, I'll start that again. Cobtree Park. So the options available to members, without going into the exempt items, is that there is a do nothing option. That isn't a recommended option, but we can choose not to let the building to an applicant. The council then would continue to manage the building as an empty premises. The risks of this is obviously that we take on the financial hit of mothballing the building, and its long-term condition and value would obviously suffer over this. We can continue to go out to the market to see if we can seek any additional applicants, and if they come forward. Although I would say that the marketing process that we have been through has been extensive, I'm certainly satisfied with the marketing that has occurred, and I wouldn't hold out much hope that we would be finding an alternative or a better offer than what is on the table. And the third option, and which is our recommended option, is that the heads of terms which are presented to you this evening are agreed, and we move forward with the proposal as it represents a good opportunity and best value for Cobtree and the Cobtree Manor estate and charity. I don't think I have anything else to add, but willing to take questions.
Thank you for your introduction. Can I just ask, for the sake of absolute clarity, so the papers in the white pages in front of us reference the potential leaseor as, or leasee, whichever way around that should be, as applicant A.
Yes.
For the sake of clarity, there are no others in consideration and haven't been. So this is the only one that's had any legs for consideration.
Yes. I mean, we did have some interest from people who wanted to turn it into a cafe or a kiosk for retail uses, but with our existing operator there and the size of the park, that wouldn't have been a viable option. And also we are quite limited in how the building is constructed and its planning class use. So if you're considering alternative uses, obviously their planning use would come into effect as well. Where the building's located, there's quite a few restrictions that go with the building, but you're very familiar with the building and its location in the park.
Thank you. Members, I am going to suggest that maybe we do need to go into part 2 for this, because I think we might want to just look at some of the particular aspects of the particular business, and it'll be impossible to not really reveal certainly the nature, but potentially who the business interest is, unless we're in part 2. Is there anything anybody would like to ask further in part 1 before I invite you to go to part 2? Right, in which case I move that the public be excluded from the meeting during the discussions contained in the exempt appendices to the Elephant House, because of the likely disclosure of exempt information under paragraph 3 of part 1 of schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972, having applied the public interest test. Is that agreed? Thank you. Right, so we're moving to part 2, and just if there are any members of the public following our activity this evening, we will return to part 1 to make the decision known, and also to continue the other items of business. Okay, if I welcome everybody back to the open session of the meeting. We took some time to ask some more detailed confidential questions in relation to the agenda item that we are currently considering, which is agenda item 13 concerning a lease to be granted on the Elephant House. So I'm looking at the recommendations, which I'm happy to move from the chair, and I think Councillor Cooper, you're content to second. But for the sake of clarity, the recommendation 1, which is the terms, and we've just suggested a couple of additional terms which relate to the use of the building and also the need to agree a specification for some additional fencing that may be required in association with. So if they can become part of recommendation 1, and the recommendation 2 relates to us acknowledging the drainage upgrades, capital budget, and that we'll be delegating authority to Director of Finance, Resources and Business to agree the final lease details, and the Head of Mid-Kent Legal Services to do the lease document. So moved, seconded. Those in favour, please. John, yeah, okay, that is unanimous and concludes that agenda item. Thank you, everybody. So if we go back now to item 11, Cobtree Manor Estate Financial Position, regular report for noting. Mr. Lovegrove, can I ask you to assist us with a short introduction for this?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so this is the regular update report showing the financial position for the estate as at 31st of January 2024. So the current position is showing a surplus of £55,000 for the year to date compared to the profile budget. There are no significant issues to report at this stage, but just a few points I thought I should note for you. I think, as we've previously reported, the gas and electricity costs at the cafe are going to be largely recharged to the contractor. And once that's been done, that will eliminate that particular overspend. So the cleaning responsibilities for the toilets have now been taken on by the cafe tenant, who has given the toilets a full redecoration and attends to them regularly throughout the day. And the cost to the estate of this approach is less than using external cleaners, and the standards are noticeably higher now. Income from the new cafe contract is actually higher than we budgeted for initially, so there's been no need to draw on the additional budget set aside for the parks management agreement with the council. So that means there's actually quite a significant underspend on the Manor Park budget. Also, investment income and bank interest has been higher than anticipated. So assuming there are no unexpected significant issues between now and the end of March, there should be a healthy surplus on the activities of the estate at the end of the year. And just to update on this point, as far as I'm aware, there haven't been any unexpected or significant costs incurred since the date of these figures. And finally, just to address the query that was raised about the recharge costs for the Democratic Services team at the last meeting. I've checked the calculation and I'm happy that it's appropriate. The rate is based on the average salary plus overheads for a Democratic Services officer, which is the post that deals with these meetings. So that concludes my summary. I'm happy to take any questions that members may have.
That was very concise, and thank you for following up on that query. Looks pretty straightforward. No areas of concern. Councillor Perry?
It's just a question, just a clarification really. On Appendix 1, you've got a figure of 40k for, excuse me using the magnifying glass, but other charges, no sorry, it's other income, Cobtree Charity Trust Limited. What is that for? What's it?
So this is income that we get from the freeholder. One of their investments, we as in the council's as trustee, is entitled to the interest from that investment, and we get around 40,000 a year from that. Okay. So yeah.
No. Okay, fine, thank you.
In which case, we're asked to note the report. Is that noted? Thanks. We can now progress on to agenda item 12. Similar matter, this is the Cobtree Estate update. There are some yellow pages associated to this. Let's see how we get on by just reading those and not having to go into part 2, but more than happy to move that if you so desire. Again, if I could turn to, is that Miss Exon, would you like to just open this up for us?
Yes, that's fine. So thank you, Chair. Really all quite positive news as an update. So we have our new cafe operator who has carried out and completed their internal fit outs. The visitors to the park is very comparable to previous years. The new cafe operator is the service is working really well. We've had excellent feedback from users. As Paul touched on before, the cafe tenant has now taken over responsibility for the loos on site, and this arrangement is working out very well. He carried out some redecoration, and the cleanliness and the service provided that he's carrying out is far superior than the contractors were carrying out. And this has, users of the park have commented on it, and we're getting very good positive feedback from that. Another thing with the Cobtree Country Park, which I think is absolutely wonderful, is one of the Elmer the elephants has been kindly gifted by the charity to the Cobtree estate. I'm going to call her a she, will have a permanent home at Cobtree, but first she's going on a bit of a safari to Moat Park and promoting the history of what was Maidstone Zoo. We've touched on the Elephant House in the previous report, so moving on to the golf course. We have a new operator in situ at the golf course. The numbers of rounds are slightly down in comparison to previous years. However, we've had the most incredible, as you know, wet winter, which seems to be continuing. And obviously bearing in mind wet weather and golf and keeping golf courses open doesn't particularly go hand in hand. But it's been a very good start and a positive start by the new operator. And from a landlord and tenant, landlord and tenant relationship and the management of it, they're a very good operator to work with. With Kent Life, they are maintaining their visitor numbers and providing a good service that we are very satisfied with. So thank you very much. That is my update. Happy to answer any questions.
Once again, thank you. Any questions, queries, members? Nice to see we're doing the bit with the recycling that's mentioned in the report. That's the cardboard, 4.2 tonnes. That's a fair old bit, isn't it? So that's good. And I think we're cognizant of the matters identified elsewhere. In the yellow pages, all seems to make good sense. No questions, so we're asked if we would note the report. Is it noted? Thank you. That concludes that agenda item. And I think we've covered everything within 14 and 15 in our previous deliberations. So I'm pleased to thank you all for your help and your attendance and close the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.